talk to a former Cavs
Mo
legend,
Gotti.
current Jackson State head coach, Mo Williams. What's up, Coach? How you doing today?
What's going on?
Mo Gotti. Mo Gotti.
That's it.
Jay State of the building, baby.
In the building. You see the hat?
I see it, right? I see it. How they treat you down there, Mo?
I'm at home, man. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, so it's home for me. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah, Campy was giving me the rundown yesterday. I was like, I didn't know you was from Jackson, right? So I was like, y'all got good things. Good school. People don't know how good a school it is down there. It really is.
Absolutely.
You know, Mo, my father went to HBCU. He went to Central State University here in Ohio. And,
Okay.
you know, Coach Prime was down in Jackson State. You were at Alabama State. Now you're at Jackson State as well. Talk a little bit about, I guess, the battle that you guys are having in trying to build HBCUs and to gather that type of support. I saw you, I think it was either an Instagram clip or something that was on the internet, and you was really impassioned of asking your fans to get out and support, to get out here and support us in our gym while we playing our games. How have you been able to, rally support, and what are some of the obstacles that you do have at an HBCU to getting things to a place where you guys are on the same pecking level or two somewhere compared to like a D1 or Division I schools?
Well, let me correct you there. We are a Division I school.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it's just a difference, and I think the biggest difference with us right now in other Division I schools is the NIL. We haven't really tackled that space like we should, and we're continuing to do that. We continue to work on that, but for the most part, I think just to answer your question, people always want to talk about the obstacles, right? There's obstacles everywhere you go. I was just different from other schools. But it's so much great things that goes on in our program at this HBCU, and I'm just speaking on Jackson State because I'm here. The culture, for one, right? Being able to get guys like myself, because they need the same help that those kids at Alabama need, Mississippi State, Duke, wherever the case may be. To get high-level coaching, get high-level tools from guys that have been there. And I always use the analogy when I'm recruiting guys, and, I recruit guys that can go, to, quote-unquote, bigger schools. And I just tell them one thing, hey, take the school out. Don't even put the school on the top of the paper. Put the coaching staff on one side and the coaching staff on the other side, and you tell me from experience and all the things that you go through, how you vet what school you want to go to, and you tell me what coaching staff is better without the school. So I kind of put other things in perspective, but at the same time, when you're recruiting at our level, you want guys that want to be involved and want to be here. Transfer portal is very big, for us, because we do get, I have a kid that transferred from Wyoming. I got a kid that transferred from Texas, Long Beach State, you name it. So, basketball on our level is pretty damn good.
Hey, Mo, let me ask you a question because, before we get around some Cavalier stuff, let me ask you this, right? Because I've had this conversation with a couple of people that are HBCU people. See, I see the HBCU, they really could crack the code. You go back to women's basketball, Cheney State, and how they were the only HBCU to get to the Final Four, right? When I look at, I'll stay in the SWAC, right? I'll stay in the SWAC.
Mm-hmm.
You got some institutions in the SWAC that could probably take a higher profile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because who think differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not that the others think. Do you ever think they could create a league, right? And it may not be just SWAC people. It might be SWAC combined with some other people and say, okay, we'll take these HBCUs and whoever focus on, because people look at the athletics lead to the academics, because if the more money you can bring in, the more money you avail yourself through TV and things of that nature, you have a product, right? If you could get those same people, Mo, that go to Duke, Ohio State, right, and start to consider that premier thing for the HBCUs, because what separates them is that You go to Ohio State because they got the TV deals. They're gonna be seen. This is the deal, right? If you could put that in an HBCU package and create that environment.
Well, let me correct you. So it used to be the TV deal, the exposure. See, the exposure and things like that doesn't really matter anymore because you can be anywhere, and all it takes is a clip. You know, that clip you can be anywhere and you can go viral. The difference now is the NIL space, because I can go to Jackson State. I want to go to Jackson State, but I can go to Ohio State, and whether I play a game, whether I get a minute, all I got to be on the roster, and I'm getting $50,000-$60,000 a year for doing nothing. So I think when you talk about evening out the playing field, that's what everybody says. It ain't about even out the playing field. It's just we don't have the same resources that other schools have. So if a kid that's a top 25 kid in the country, it takes more than Mo Williams being the coach to get that kid on campus. You got to have more things involved. The NIL, I keep speaking NIL, that's pretty big right now. Because every kid you recruit, the first question they ask is about NIL. What do we have? So that's one thing. But then you go on further with, what's your strength and conditioning program look like? What's your meal plan look like? What's your living arrangements? So all that is different too at Ohio. I'm just using Ohio State as an example than a Jackson State or any other HBCU. So we have a long way to go in that aspect of, facilities and, strength and conditioning, meal, how to eat, all the small things that it takes to be a elite program and bringing in elite athletes. I think we got to get ourselves together in a space where we can basically take care of those elite players. And that's a struggle for us, and that's something that we're building on. It's something that I'm building on here, getting them to understand the small things we need to separate ourselves.
And I can see that, and I agree with you, right? It's the resources, right? And I'm just saying there are some in the HBCU space that have a bigger appetite to do those things, right?
Correct.
And at some point, to me, it appears that at some point in the future, it might not be in your immediate time, there's gonna have to be a decision made, right? Because there's a space to grow, and there's a home for people that would maybe like to go to Jackson State, maybe like to go to Howard, right? But they cannot do it because it is they're working against the other stuff, the NIL stuff, the resources, the things that prepare them for. Because you got some people that want to go to the next level, right? And it's gonna be more than a clip, right? I gotta need somebody to prepare me to go to the next level. You just don't walk in the next level. Somebody gotta prepare you to go to the next level. And that's where the lag comes in, because everybody does not think alike. Just like in the Big Ten. Northwestern think a certain way, right? Wisconsin think a certain way. Ohio State and Michigan think another way, right? And so you have to figure out what that balance is.
I agree 1,000%. I just think, in our space where we are, we're still trying to win basketball games, right? So we still running the things how we run it, and we still getting good, talented players. With my group, we finished third in our league. In my first year here at Jackson State, got everybody coming back. We should be picked to win the league next year. So we're pretty good. We played, the who's who, and, we, took care of business and won a few games and was close in some games. And you got to realize people don't understand the aspect of my non-conference schedule. Just give you an example. And this is a big difference too. And I'm going to keep using Ohio State because we just brought it up. Ohio State. So non-conference, you get 13 non-conference games. Every team gets 13 games. Out of those 13 non-conference games, Ohio State going to play 8-9 of those games at home. They're going to be, quote unquote, maybe out of those 13 games they play, they may play 3 really tough games, ranked teams or whatever the case may be. And everything else is going to be a Jackson State, and it's going to be a, Toledo. It's going to be those type of programs that's coming to them. They might play 1 road game and 2 neutral site games and everything else at home. Now, the difference with me is we don't have that budget. So with me, I have to go play 13 straight road games. and all of them on the road. So I got to go to Ohio State, and they got to give me $100,000.
They got paid.
I got to go to Alabama, they got to give me $100,000. I got to go to Vanderbilt, they got to give me $100,000. I got to go raise $1 million just for our program to operate.
Right. You're right.
That's the difference between Ohio State. They already have that in the budget. They're paying us. They have money to pay us to come play.
Right.
So it's just a battle, and it's just not balanced, but it is what it is.
But Mo, what if you flip that, Mo? What if you became the place where they had to come see you, right? Then they would be like, you want to play me? You're going to pay me. And you're going to play me right here in Jackson. That's where you're going to play me. And I think there's an opportunity for that to occur.
Well, so for example, we just finished our first year of it. So we're going into our second year. So the SWAC and the Pac-12, we did a challenge. So this year was the first year.
Okay.
They took 6 teams out of the SWAC, and they took 6 teams out of the Pac-12. And it's a home and home. So the first year you go there, and the first year they'll come to us, and then they'll flip-flop the second year. And then the third and fourth year, which we'll be a part of, the rest of the team that didn't participate will do the same thing.
That's beautiful.
So the point I'm making is, think about this. The 3 teams that went to a Pac-12 school lost on an average of 25 points. The 3 teams that came to a SWAC institution and played them, all 3 of those teams lost.
They got cracked.
All 3 of those teams lost to a SWAC school.
Right, got cracked. Crazy. Got cracked.
You know, so with that being said, people look at our record and say, well, they ain't playing no good basketball, but every SWAC school is playing 13 straight road games and getting in the conference playing.
Yeah.
But that shows you the difference when someone got to come play us at home, you know, or we get someone on a neutral site. Just imagine if we're going into conference play, you know, 11-2, you know, 10-3, then going 18 out of 18 games in the conference, you win 14 of those. And you done won 28, 27 games, you know, 24 games or whatever the case may be. But it never shows that way because it looks like, well, none of those teams, but every team in our conference is playing 13, 12, 13 straight road games. That's tough.
Right.
Mo, I understand college basketball is a confusing disaster right now, obviously, and I don't envy you having to try and negotiate this new world. Let's talk about the NBA. It's a little bit more manageable, and it's obviously something that you're familiar with. Big fan, love what you did for the Cavs. Thank you so much for those memories. Do we have some new memories coming up from the Cavs right now? How do you like the Cavs in the playoffs against the Knicks?
I love it, man. I just like, obviously I'm a basketball guy, and I always pull for the Cavs, obviously. Just looking at just their makeup of their team, you know, I just feel like they have all the right pieces. You know, I feel like they have a good coaching staff. And just watching kind of like clips I see on social media just on how they're interacting after games, before games, and some of the things he say. And then just watching how they perform, you know, throughout a game and sitting in the 4th spot right now. I mean, obviously, you're talking about the Knicks. You know, I'm not too scared of the Knicks. You know, once we get to that second round, you know, I think it'll be, you know, something to talk about. But I think they should be able to take care of the Knicks. Now, if they don't take care of the Knicks, I mean, I feel like, you know, that should be a letdown. But I feel good about their chances.
What's the biggest hindrance on the Cavs right now? What do you think our biggest weakness is? What do you worry about them as far as advancing? What's holding them back?
Experience. You know, obviously Donovan has it, but, you know, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong because you guys follow him on the daily. I can't think of anybody on the team that has been far in the playoffs. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right. You're right.
But, you know, experience. You know, I just go back to my experience in 2000. What was that year we lost to Orlando? 2008?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was 2000. But that was my first time on that platform. As good as, and that was my all-star year. You know, so, you know, I was rolling. I was playing good and things like that. Then the playoffs happened. Man, it just get different. And that was my first time in that moment, you know, and you just trying to figure it out. And being someone that had been there, and as I had more playoff moments, I got better and better and better and better at those moments. So I think that's the only thing, because they have what they need. They have length. They have great guard play, and you got great guard play, you're going to be able to win some games with guard play, but they have long forwards, and obviously they have wings, and they have guys that can get out the floor and run. And on top of that, in the playoff, you got to have guys that can stand face to face with someone and be a matchup to them, meaning on the defensive end or offensive end. And you have those guys that can go get you a bucket, and you have guys that can go get you a stop. But like I said, I think for the most part, it's going to be for them is just the experience part of it. And, just for example, like Boston, they was young. They got to that moment. I guarantee you they're going to be way more comfortable this year in this moment, and I just think the experience alone will get them better.
Mo, the first time when you guys was rolling with LeBron, I think the first thing that you were here, I mean, y'all had some of the most memorable 66 wins. I mean, y'all started the celebrations on the bench. Y'all was
started that.
They started that, right?
Yep.
Like, so you guys was playing with that energy level, and you end up losing Orlando, and I think everybody felt like the Cavs was the best team in the league. They ran up against Dwight Howard, Turkoglu, Rashard Lewis.
Not to cut you off, but Dwight Howard, that series alone turned into the doggone dream Elijah won.
He was hitting jump hooks. Where did that come from?
We didn't see it no more in his career. Not that level. No. That level. I'm talking about that level.
No, facts.
That level, Dwight Howard. That series alone, if he played like that for 3 years straight, just that level, he'll be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He was hitting free throws. When Rayford Austin was coming down, dumping it to him, he was shimmying. I'm like, where did Dwight Howard get this?
Listen,
like that.
They played out their mind. I'm talking about they played out their mind against us, and you got to give them credit. I didn't have a great series against them. They had at that time they were just loading in and making and Bron kind of settle for jump. But they had a good game plan, but offensively they were just clicking, man. Dwight Howard, he was terrific, but they was good all the way around. Rashard Lewis had a good series against us. Man, Turkoglu had a real good series.
He couldn't miss.
Rayford Austin, I don't know where he came from and had a series like he had. But they deserved it. I mean, they just outplayed us. But Dwight Howard, he was a man-child that series.
He turned the skip on y'all. Skip, I'm like, where Rayford turned into Skip, it was rough. Big Nuggets, you got something?
Yeah, Mo, you played with LeBron twice and against LeBron for almost your entire career. So when you look at the guy you played with the first stint in Cleveland, the second stint in Cleveland, and when he was in Miami in between, what version of LeBron, in your opinion, was peak LeBron? Where was he at his actual best throughout his illustrious career?
Good question.
Man, you know how hard that question is.
That's what I get paid to do.
Oh, man. Woo.
Could be 2025 for all we know.
20 years. I mean,
Mo, he still averaged 30, which is crazy.
I know. That's what I'm saying, because you got to understand his maturation of his game. Like, his game, it never really, you can't say, well, he way better here and he wasn't as good. He was good at every phase of his career. But the dynamics of his games has changed. Whether now, I mean, he's shooting that pill like I was shooting that pill, So it's like early on in my career, I mean, he'll make a three, but he wasn't settling for threes. He was really getting to the rack. He was really putting his shoulder down. Now, his post game has gotten better. He's always been able to, as far as the IQ part of the game, he's always had that. But just seeing how his game has just gotten better, just shooting the ball for me is something that really sticks out to me for me being around him a lot, and him just coming down, just pulling and not only making rhythm three, because people get misunderstood when guys kind of make a tough rhythm three or whatever the case may be. I'm just talking about swing, catch, and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to be talented to be able to catch and shoot and be efficient doing it. And that's usually the Kyle Korvers, that's usually the J.J. Reddicks, but he can be in that role and run out 4 straight. He can get in the mid-post and go to work. He can set that fake screen at the top of the key just to get the ISO at the in the mid post and go to work. But just for the most part, I just think his game has just continued to grow and change with the times of how the game has been played. Because when we first came to the NBA, we came in the same year in 2003. It was still a physical league. It was still, you can put your hands on everybody. The scores was, 79 to 82. It was that type of era. Then once they started to ease up on it, scoring started to go up, you couldn't touch guys, and you just saw his game kind of change, and he kind of adapted to that too, and still was successful.
If you had to guess, what year will LeBron play his last professional NBA game? If you had to guess, and reminder, the internet's forever, so this will live forever, whatever you say.
So nobody can play forever. LeBron is 38 because I'm 40. He's 2 years younger than me, so I think he's 38. But year 20, you got Bronny. Bronny probably go to the G League and play for a year. I'm gonna give him 5 more years. 25 years. That's a good mark for him.
That's crazy.
I think
2028. He's stepping down.
So I think he'll have 3 really good years,
and then 2.
Then I think he'll have
retired years.
Well, not retired years. Then I think he'll have 1 year where he's
got to change the game.
He's gonna be himself, but it's gonna be moments.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think that last year he'll have a good farewell tour.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be a good 5 years. Good, because that'll be he'll still be in a space where he can use who he is for wherever team he is to make them draft Bronny.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'll spend a couple years with Bronny, and I think he'll get out of there.
Mo, we talked to Boobie Gibson. We had him on, and I asked him the same question. I was like, when LeBron left the first time, was you in your feelings? Because I know I was hot. I was mad. I was in my feelings. And how did you come back from that, seeing him again and coming full circle and winning the championship and coming back again and Lincoln?
I had to mature, and then I had to look myself in the mirror, because I was, for lack of better words, I ain't never been a sucker, and that was some sucker stuff I did, because thinking back on it as I got older and going through my career, because I was still young in my career, and, I just didn't know how to handle it, and I did handle that wrong because I spoke out on some things, and, me and him had a real close relationship, and I was wrong for that, and I've apologized to him for that. Over the years, but I was just wrong, for voicing my feelings. It's okay to feel a certain way, but I think I voiced it the wrong way. Because at the end of the day, when I look at situation, then I look at him for sure. You make the decision that's best for you, and I thought he made a decision that was best for him that didn't help me, and I got in my feelings, and I understood, later on in my career that. Obviously, people have to make decisions that's best for him. And you look at his career, you look at who he is. He's always made, decisions, calculated decisions, I would say. Yeah. Nothing is just happening. And me, I had to mature, and I had to look myself in the mirror, and I had to understand that, your life goes on. Yeah. And, I handled that wrong.
I'm going to give you a little grace there, though, Mo. He didn't handle it properly either, in fairness. Don't act like that can't.
Well, he's voiced that. He
was young, too, and he was immature at the same time.
So, Mo, let me tell you, Mo, so, that's why you're sitting in the position you're sitting in today, right?
Right,
so,
facts.
I just had this discussion yesterday. My daughter plays for Maryland basketball, right? And so we were having this discussion about the transfer portal with some other people, right? And I said, listen, let me tell you something. As I've gotten older, it's not about, you got to wish these people well, right? It's not for me to sit here and judge them. They're doing what's best for themselves. It's like when you change a job, right? My job now is to wish you well and say good luck to you, right? Now, does it have some impact on me? But I can't be sitting out here. That's why you're sitting there as the head coach of a Division I school here. Because be blessed, bro. We all not getting them opportunities to do that, right?
Absolutely.
Say that again.
So it talks about maturation, maturity here, right? So I will tell you this, the big person want to be able to say, I made a mistake here and be able to move on from that. But I would tell you what, you doing the job down there on the level because them kids down there, they need guidance now. This ain't AAU no more. This not AAU no more.
Hey, Mo, last one before we
agree.
let you go here, but when you were in Minnesota, you had a game where you dropped 52 points, and we got the highlights. Anthony, you can take tag board for one play.
Yeah, let's
Mo,
look
when
at
you
it.
woke up that morning, did you know it was going to be different that day?
Absolutely not. I mean, this is a true story, guys. So we was in Indiana that day, and it was a back-to-back. So obviously, shoot around. You don't have shoot around on back-to-backs. And it was snowing. It was cold. So we get to the gym, for warm-ups. We get in there a couple hours before the game. I don't go out and warm up. This is a true story. I don't go out and warm up at all. I just sit in my locker. I don't know if you guys got dominoes on your phone, but I had the domino app on my phone. I'm just playing dominoes for an hour straight, just laying down, get stretched. The first time I go out there and shoot a ball was 20 minutes before the game when the team go out and get in the layup line. That was the first time I went out there. It's just one of those days that I didn't have it. And then the game just started, I just was just playing. And all of a sudden, like, I didn't start off hot. It was just a solid game. I was 6 for 9 from the field at the half with 15 points. And I just came out of halftime and had 33 in the third quarter.
He said it so casually.
And that's a true story. That's a true story. And if you really look at those clips, and I always mess with my kids all the time, my players and my kids, I say, hey, listen, because I brag about this all the time. I say, hey, really go look at them clips and see how many shots in the paint I took. That's tough. When you ain't none of them layups. None of them layups.
Mid-range.
Not one layup. None. None. And I ain't get number 5, maybe 4 or 5 free throws in there. So them all jumpers. So for me, that was obviously, man, that was a historic night for myself. I mean, people don't realize we was on a 14-game losing streak at the time. I was in Minnesota. And that was a week before the trade deadline. And I had that game, and all of a sudden my agent started calling me and saying,
Business card.
hey, the Cavs calling, the Clippers want you, the Lakers want you. And then I ended up getting traded to Charlotte like a week later.
Mo, man, I appreciate you for coming on. By the way, that was a very inefficient game in today's standards. I need you to step back a little bit. It's either layups or threes now, Mo.
That's all anybody cares
I
about.
know.
Yeah.
But this the thing. The analytics thing is. I know you guys got to go, but this the problem with the analytics that I have. Because me personally, if you look at my game and you go back to the analytics and look at my shot, like I have a hell of a mid-range game.
Right.
And when you look at statistics, like I'm going to make more mid-range shots and I'm going to make layups with contact and big guys down there. I'm going to make more mid-range shots. So for me, like the analytics don't, I'm an analytic guy at some point, but at some point it's just, man, that's a good shot, man. You get to the elbow, man, pull up. You just got to make that. That's an easy shot. The analytics just kills.
Mo, we appreciate you. We got to run, man. I thank you. Hopefully we can have you on again. Congratulations
Anytime.
to you and your success at Jackson State. We appreciate you.
Shout out Jackson
Appreciate
State.
you,
Thanks,
guys.
Mo.
Appreciate
Thank
you,
you, Mo.
Mo.
All right, we got 30 seconds, guys. Polk, you got a final take in literally 30 seconds, or you want to save it for overtime?
We'll save that for overtime. It's important.
Overtime.